Welcome to Water Online Radio's coverage from ACE, broadcasting live from Chicago, Illinois. ACE16, uniting the world of water. Water Online Radio is brought to you by wateronline.com, showcasing today's water industry leaders and innovators. And now, here's your host, Todd Schnick.
All right. Good morning and welcome back to Water Online Radio's fifth year of coverage from ACE, the American Water Works Association's annual conference and exposition. I'm your host, Todd Schnick, joined by my friend and colleague, Travis Kennedy. This is going to be a fun conversation. We've had this gentleman on the show before. It's good to have him back.
We have, and especially this show, we've talked a lot about aging distribution systems, and I can't wait to get more in detail and figure out what Cliff has to say about the situation, because I'm sure he has some stuff to say.
I bet he does. Let's get to it. We're joined by Cliff Wilson, the president of Wachs Water Services. Cliff, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Todd. Thanks for having me. Travis, nice seeing you again as well.
Thank you.
Cliff, always good to see you. Thanks for making time to join us. I know you're busy here at ACE. Before we get into our conversation, take a few quick seconds. Tell us a bit about you, your background, and then give us an overview of Wachs.
Absolutely. More than happy to. I'm in my hometown here in Chicago, president of Wachs Water Services. We founded this company over 15 years ago. Really, it's a service company helping utilities gain better control of their aging underground infrastructure. So I'm excited to be in the industry. I think it's the right time, it's the right place about how we can help utilities run more effectively and reduce their risk.
All right. Well, lead us off. What do you see as some of the big trends in this? What should we be paying attention to?
I think it's so fascinating. If I look at the last 15 years, some of us remember in 2001, there was an article from AWWA talk about the dawn of the replacement era. And then in 2012, the new large study, which was buried no longer. And what we're seeing is the focus. I think one of the main trends we're seeing, Todd, is this focus moving from above ground to moving to below ground. And I'm seeing that in wastewater because we invested a lot of money, wastewater treatment and drinking water treatment, both above ground assets, a lot driven by regulation, and those are starting to stabilize. And now where we're seeing the industry starting to look underground, which is where 2/3 of the value of the assets are buried. And that's the next frontier. That's what I see as the next frontier.
Interesting.
Let's talk dollars and cents here for a minute. I mean, it's everybody's favorite subject, right?
Sure.
So could you give me a little bit more detail about the financial impact of having more control over these aging distribution systems?
Absolutely, Travis. And interesting, another one of the big trends is I see us moving more. We hear more about asset management in our business now. Over the last 10 years, asset management is all about managing risk. And there's two components, and I'll get to your question about the financial aspect. There's two components of managing risk. One is how do you reduce the likelihood of the system failing? What's the likelihood of a pipe failing? How do you reduce that? And two is how do you reduce the consequence of a failure when it occurs? What Wachs Water Services specializes in is helping utilities reduce the consequences when the inevitable failures occur. We can't replace our underground assets fast enough. Our teams, City of Chicago is doing a great job. Other cities are doing great jobs trying to start replacing aging and failing infrastructure. You just can't replace it fast enough. So what we do is we help utilities understand their valve assets, understand the information on those assets, understand how their systems are connected. So when they need to respond, they can respond quickly and reduce the damage, which saves the utility money.
Yeah, well said. So with regards to distribution systems, why is GIS so important?
Well, it ties in, Todd. It ties into just what I said. It's about information and assets. And how we respond is it's the simple, who, what, when, where, how, why. If we know how to respond, if we know where to respond, if we know how the system is connected, we can shut down different segments of the system much more accurately. And what's happening is all that information is now starting to be reflected in GIS. For the last many, many years, we in utilities use paper maps. And many times now we've taken those paper maps and we've electronified them and made them into a GIS. And what we help utilities do is make those GIS more accurate, actually get specific points on the earth where the valves are, so we know exactly where to go at the intersection, whether it's rain, sleet, or snow, and we can respond, the utility can respond faster. One thing that we say is we don't operate water systems, we help utilities make them more operable.
But time is money. Like when you're talking about getting utilities there faster, it's money. I seem to be the money guy here in this conversation. So
but the accurate location of a valve, for instance, it's game changing when a maintenance guy doesn't have to spend an hour.
Absolutely. And what happens, Todd, in most cases, we won't spend an hour. Why? Because damage is occurring. Now, damage could be occurring because water spilling on the street, landscaping is being damaged, or I have a construction contractor that I'm delaying. So what do we as utilities do? We won't search for an hour, we'll back up. We'll go look for the next valve. And now what happens is this shutdown area gets broader and broader, and it takes longer and longer, and all that time damage is happening. Whether it's physical damage, traffic disruptions, businesses out of water, water quality complaints, time is money.
Without a doubt. I mean, going off of that, I want to go back to the financial impact question, but I want to expand upon it a little bit.
Absolutely.
Specifically, a financial impact to the capital spend of having better control.
Absolutely. And there's a capital and an operations and maintenance value from having better control. And if you have better control, if I take it all the way to one extent and say, okay, I have a water treatment plant and I have all my customers and I have no ability to shut down any piece of my system, conceptually, if I had a failure anywhere, I'd have to take the whole system down. What we're trying to do is break the system into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces. And as you break it into smaller pieces, you might not have to replace 5 miles of main. You might only need to replace 800 feet of main, because you can break it down into smaller pieces and focus exactly where you need to invest your dollars. Don't take pipe out of the ground that still has life in it. And especially if you can control that pipe in the meantime through quick action.
Oh, that's game changing. Wow.
Yeah.
So you're exhibiting here at ACE. What are you principally showcasing here?
Well, Wachs Water Services is now a division of Pure Technologies, and we're really excited about that, because if I go back to the asset management equation, risk is money, Travis. Risk is money, and it's the likelihood of a system failing times the probability, or the likelihood of a system failing times the consequence of a system failing. And we in Pure are excellent at understanding what the additional life is left in a pipeline. So we can help utilities with the likelihood of failure. And now we as Wachs, together with Pure, we can add that other dimension of how do you reduce the consequence of failure. So we're working together with utilities on how to do condition assessment of their pipeline structures and condition assessment and improvement of their control systems.
Very exciting. Cliff, sadly, we're about out of time. Before I let you go, how can people contact you should they have questions, and where can they learn more about Wachs Water Services?
Absolutely. And again, I thank you very much for your time, Travis and Todd. And Cliff Wilson, my cell phone, I always have my cell phone with me, 630-624-0719. And my email address is cwilson@WachsWS, that stands for WachsWaterServices.com. And we're also at WachsWater.com.
All right. Cliff Wilson, the president of Wachs Water Services. Cliff, great to have you. Thanks again for stopping by.
Thanks, gents. Appreciate it very much.
We are appreciative of your time, as I said. All right. That's all the time we have for now. Check out some additional conversations from ACE at wateronlineradio.com. Todd Schnick and Travis Kennedy signing off for now, but no worries. Water Online Radio will be right back.